we are in Charleston at our James Island flip. In the last video we walked you through the transformation of the before and after of what we did. In this video, we're gonna go through all the design elements and really how to make things pop so you can get the best value by using design in your flips. So come check it out. I'm excited to walk you through all this. So let's talk about the exterior. Yes, we painted the brick. It's white, but white is honestly so classic and it really just cleans up the house. What we did on this flip was we painted the exterior, and instead of, a lot of times we'll make the windows pop a little bit with a darker paint, we just kept everything nice and white. We did a different shade of white on the windows just to add a little bit of dimension, and that really does help when you're with exteriors, using different tones of paint just to create some dimension in the front. One of the other elements that we did was we extended the stairs on the patio. The reason we did this is we just wanted to make the exterior and the walk up to the house feel elevated. And a great way to do that was just to extend and make wider stairs. The paint choice on this was for two reasons. One, because I was talking about just having a different dimension when you're looking at the front, so everything just doesn't all blend together. That was one reason. But the second reason we did a darker paint on the front stairs is because honestly, white sucks to walk up on stairs. I wouldn't ever really recommend painting your stairs in the front white. You're just always gonna be fighting against cleaning them. So we took this is urban bronze actually on the stairs, and I love it because it has brown undertones, which really flows nicely into the rest of the house. One of the other things that we did was we put a nice, beautiful wooden door on the front. This just gave it a little bit of warmth, and then adding the columns in also just brings a different level of texture and warmth to the front of the home. So again, it just doesn't fall flat. So that was the thought process behind the exterior and what we did specifically here on the front. Let's go inside and take a look at the thought process of what we did throughout the entire home. One of the best ways to add character and a level of design into a home is accents. This accent wall behind me is gorgeous and I love it, and it's just such a nice feature of the home. But also, we not only did this wall, we also wanted to add some color when you first walk in the hallway. So when you first walk in the door, the first thing you see is this beautiful, beautiful green, and the new homeowner can take it however they want. They could add wallpaper to the top, which I think would be a gorgeous addition, or they can just leave it as is. But you really want to have something that just grabs the eye, and if you can do it when they first walk in the door, that's a bonus. Another thing that we love to do on projects, which is pretty simple and it just adds another layer of design and makes it feel a little bit more curated, is these archways. Whenever we can in a doorway, we like to add these simple arches instead of there just being a straight line. It's one of those subtle things that you might not notice at first, but it adds to the overall feel. And again, whenever you can do this, I highly recommend it. I think it really just adds a little bit that, again, may not be super noticeable to the person walking through, but you can feel it when you walk in. Another way to really elevate a space is just by encasing the windows with trim. Check out what we did to these windows over here. To keep the Charleston charm and just really, again, just bring it up another level, we did a simple encasing around each of the windows that just has a little bit of a design element where, again, it's not in your face, it's not noticeable, it just makes everything feel better and dresses up the windows a little bit. But let's talk about a real value add that we did, and that's the kitchen. A lot of thought went into designing the kitchen right behind me. Because we were working with a very awkward, limited space, it took some real thought to make sure that we were able to get in an island and enough cabinets to make this really functional. And I think it turned out absolutely fantastic. So one of the things that we always look for when we're designing kitchen is just a general flow. Is there gonna be enough cabinet space? And I really like the feature that we did where we put the sink in the island, because you have to think as a homeowner and you're working in the kitchen, you're doing different things, you can actually have a conversation with somebody else in the house and have a great prep space with a sink right next to it. And it just makes everything feel so much more open the way that this was designed. There are a couple things that we do when we're hitting the higher end homes, and that is we put in a wine fridge and a built-in microwave. These are just little touches that you can add that really help just enhance and level up your kitchen. We also use higher end brand name appliances. So sorry, LG, we're not gonna throw you in a $950,000 renovation. We are gonna use something that's a little bit higher end in each of these renovations, but it's completely worth it. You don't have to go and spend $20,000, $30,000 on an appliance package. You can still get quality brand name in a kitchen like this for just a little bit more than you would spend with something like LG, and it really just enhances everything. Another thing we like to do in all of our kitchens is just add a little bit of open shelving. You can go a little bit extreme, and this has been a long trend for a while, where instead of cabinets, you have just open shelving everywhere. We still want to give people the option to have uppers, but just a little bit of shelving where they can maybe put some plates or a little bit of decor just adds fun to the kitchen, in my opinion, and gives it something that breaks it up from just all of the cabinets. Another thing we did here was extended this island out just a little bit further. Now, if we completely had it our way, this wall would have been pushed back a little bit further. We would have made a much fatter island, a much bigger island going this way. We just couldn't do it and make it feel comfortable. So we extended it out, and we just wanted to give more prep space and also have a little bit of seating. So somebody can be sitting here talking to somebody, you can have breakfast here, whatever it is that the homeowner may want to use this space for, we wanted to give that. And by being able to do that, we added these cute little columns that, again, it just adds that next little level of design and makes it feel nice and elevated. As I explained, the kitchen is a great place where you can add tons of value to your home, but the next best place is your bathrooms. You hear it all the time, kitchens and baths. So let's go take a look at all the different design choices that we did in these bathrooms to make them stand out and leave a lasting impression for people who are coming in looking to purchase the home. This is the shared bathroom of the house. I didn't want to have a ton of competing pieces in here. And actually, if you look at some of our older videos, you'll see that I had a completely different design picked out for this bathroom, but last minute we had to switch it up because our tile vendor just could not get the tile that we wanted in this bathroom in time. But I think it worked out for the best. The tile we used on this floor, at first, I wasn't really sure how it was gonna look because all I really had were pictures to go off of, and sometimes that's just so difficult. I had 2 pieces of the tile and pictures, and I was really, really nervous that it was gonna be extremely busy. I was thrilled with the way that this turned out. So when you come into the house and you walk into this bathroom, you just have this nice marbled brown chevron style floor, and it's not overbearing. Just feels really nice and intentional. We also left the bathtub a little plain on purpose because we didn't want to throw too many weird tile choices in here. We wanted to let this be the show in here without adding a bunch of color or anything to the shower. So we just did a very, very simple white subway tile that is matte. Now, I personally like to use matte tile where I can because sometimes shiny just feels a little extra, and it can feel a little cheap to me in some spaces. So be careful with the sheens when you're picking out tile. So we use a nice white matte tile in here. And then we brought the brown from the floor in with this really funky vanity. And one thing that I love playing around with is mixing metals. Now, a few years ago, people probably would have completely cringed at this. It's on trend right now, and I love it. So we have a black fixture in here, we have a gold mirror, and we have a gold light. And what this does is just breaks it up. It doesn't make it feel all matchy-matchy, all the same. And I'm really loving it. Tell me what you think in the comments. Do you love or do you hate mixed metals? Because I've just become such a huge fan of it when it's done in the right way. All right, that's enough about this bathroom. Let's go check out my favorite bathroom of all time to date. Let's go see what it looks like. This bathroom is a little small, but it's packed with design. And I feel like we really were able to get away with it because it was on the smaller side. We were able to get away with a busier pattern on the floor with this really cool color shower. And this tile right here is really stunning. It's not all the same. It varies in the greens. And we really also thought through the color grout, because grout can completely change the way tile looks. If we had done white in here, you would have seen the lines more and it wouldn't have felt as cohesive. It wouldn't have looked bad, but it just wasn't the look we were going for. Another thing when you're designing a shower, a tile shower, is what kind of Schluter you're going to use. It's not something you think about a lot, and sometimes if you just let your contractor pick it out, it might not turn out as nice as it could have. We actually went through and got a gold Schluter for this, and it just helps enhance, one, the tile and the feel of the bathrooms. I just discussed how I love mixing metals, so having gold in here and then adding some black elements, it just works out. And these choices that you don't really notice and they will come up in your renovation project can be a huge factor in the way that your tile design turns out. So be careful when you're choosing your grout color. This turned out really, really nice, and I love it, and it worked out exactly as I had planned when I was thinking about this shower. Now let's talk about the floor. I actually went back and forth on this floor. My gut inclination at first was to go, because we had this beautiful green tile in here, and you always want to be careful about not having too many competing things in a bathroom, I considered going with a brown marbled floor, something really simple, and it would have looked great in here. Don't get me wrong, there would have been no wrong decision between this tile or the other tile I was going to choose. I really think that this tile brought character into this space. It doesn't feel too busy. Now again, in a larger bathroom, I'd probably stay away from it. I think it would be a little bit too busy, but it works out perfectly in here. It's also marble, so the floor is marble, and it feels nice when you walk in. It feels elevated. By using that level of tile, it's the little details where people walk in and they may not think, oh, that's a marble floor, but they can tell you used a more quality product in the bathroom. The great thing is, it wasn't a ton of square footage, so we were able to bring in the high-end element without going crazy over budget on our tile. And then one last thing in here was the vanity. I wanted to bring in a nice wood vanity into this space. Really, in my opinion, makes everything flow and just feel really, really nice. We also mixed metals with the mirror, the lights. So again, not everything looks all matchy-matchy, but it just flows really nice. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna be using this in another space because I love it. Now on to the master, where we created a little bit more of a spa-like vibe because we wanted that feeling of tranquility when you're in your master suite. So let's go check out and see what that looks like. As you'll see in our transformation video, this bathroom underwent a big renovation when we expanded the walls and opened up to allow for this huge shower and vanity. Now let's talk about some of the choices that we made in here. The idea here was it's coming right off the master suite. I wanted it to feel a little bit more like a spa and then still bring in some of the green from the rest of the house. So this vanity is so fun, and when it went in, I was thrilled with the color. Sometimes, again, when you get stuff online, you're not really sure what it's gonna look like and you don't get to see it in person. This turned out perfect. It came with brass handles. It just looks great. I really, really like it. Back in the shower, we decided to do this wood fluted style on the wall. It just, to me, screams calm. It makes it feel nice and neutral. It's not stark and white. And I just really like the way that it feels. And then for the shower floor, to break things up a little bit, we went with this marble tile, and the hexagon shaped floor works really well with this shower. It all feels really, really nice. And so originally for the floor in this bathroom, I was gonna use the tile that we spoke about in the half bath that we first walked through with the brown tile. But as I had mentioned in that bathroom, I was nervous it was gonna be way too busy for the master bath and not really give the vibe that I was wanting. And in searching, I found a very similar tile, but it didn't have as many of those variations and grains, and it doesn't stand out as much as I feel like the other bathroom floor does. So I wanted something subtle, especially since we were having this shower stand out. We had this beautiful green vanity. We really didn't need another element on the floor that draws your attention away from everything else we were doing. And a simple way to add just a level of design is the way that you lay your tile. What kind of patterns? We did a herringbone style pattern in here, and it just adds a level of fun, and I love it. And then lastly, for the mirrors, again, I tend to like to bring a little bit of wood for warmth into bathrooms, and we were able to do it with these mirrors. And I'm happy with the way that all of this turned out. What do you think? Do you feel like this bathroom feels spa-like and luxurious? Let me know. I'm curious to hear what you have to think. All right, now that we've been through all the heavy hitters of where you can increase value in your home and little design tweaks that you can do to really get the full value, the next thing I wanna talk about is lighting. Not everybody thinks about lighting, so I wanna talk to you a little bit about what we're doing in some of these higher end renovations with lighting, where we're investing a little bit more and where we're scaling back. So let's walk through and talk about that. So one thing that we love to do with lighting is have a couple feature pieces. And in this master bedroom, I also wanted to have really nice lighting. I kind of wanted chandeliers in the master closet, but I couldn't find what I was thinking initially. And I came across these lights that were gold and had little pieces of this white kind of glass, and it gave a really cool look. And I lucked out after searching and found a very similar light for the master living room sort of area. So everything really ties in. And I think it's a cool, funky light. It's not too polarizing. It's classy, but it's not basic. And in these homes, I just like to add these little elements that make it feel great. One last thing I want to talk about is the lighting that we did in the dining and the living room. Let's go take a look at that. One of the best ways to separate a space, especially with an open floor plan, is to add some dining room light. This one was really nice. I usually like to use a chandelier type style, but I thought that this was really cool and classy, and it really just tied into a lot of the earthy tones that we had in the house. So it's classic, it doesn't stand out too much, but it just gives that extra level where when you walk in, it feels elevated. And it's cool, it's not boring, it's not old, and it just completely added to the space and the feel of this dining, living room, kitchen combination. So let's take a step over here and check out the lighting that we decided on in the living room. In order to add a lot of light to this space without having 1,000 different fixtures, we added recessed lighting. This is something we're starting to do in pretty much every project we do for a few reasons. One, it just gives better lighting. It gives an elevated feel. And then two, you're not picking out 1,000 different light fixtures and figuring out how it's all gonna flow all over the house. So you can let your feature pieces be feature pieces, your fans just be fans, and this lighting will give a nice light throughout the entire home. And again, it just gives it an elevated feel. So I highly recommend, when you can, add can lighting or recessed lighting to your flips, because it just elevates the space and people really love it. All right, let me know what you think about the design elements in this project. Do you think we nailed it? Is there somewhere you think we could have done better? Let us know. We're always open. We love to hear what you have to say. So post a comment. And if you want to learn more about how staging your house can help your bottom line, check out this video here.